flowers smell like rubber. Oh, they're not really flowers. It's Mother's Day soon, and we decided to revisit one of my old recipes. The very first recipe that was ever featured on the very first episode of Cooking with SonicBlu. There has been no video footage of it because, well, we did it live. But I would actually like to have a video version of this recipe because, folks, we're going to go way back to the second season when I prepared chicken for the Pop-It crew and chicken for the Pop-It audience and showing them exactly how Mom used to make it. So, join me today as we explore the kitchen of Cooking with SonicBlu. And today we are going to take a little tip from Mom. Now remember to get Mom something really good for Mother's Day, because she deserves putting up with your whining and crying and changing the diapers and cooking and cleaning and doing everything in the world for you so that they could just magically be done. Isn't Mom great? She is so filled with magic. First and foremost, we're going to grab our measuring cup and measure out about 1 cup of flour, maybe a little bit more just to be on the safe side. Okay, now we have 1 cup of flour in the mixing bowl. Here it is. And we're going to be using some vegetable oil. We are going to fry some chicken, and not only are we going to fry chicken today, I'm also going to show you Mom's method of making what she called Groovy gravy. This is Mom, and that was the 60s. This is called Groovy gravy, and we're going to call it Groovy gravy because that's what Mom called Groovy gravy. And I'm going to show you how to make that from scratch. All you need is some chicken parts. We're using thighs, and it's always best to get them on the bones because for frying, that's the best method. I mean, the ingredients that we're going to be using for this chicken, and I'm going to keep as close to Mom's recipe as possible. There are other ingredients that I would love to add to that flour, but this is Mom we're talking about, and Mom was pretty simple. At least my mother was really simple with the spices. So we are going to replicate Mom's recipe, and then maybe later on I'll show you my recipe, which adds a little more extra seasonings, but oh well, here we go. We're going to take some paprika, and we're just going to take about a 1/4 teaspoon worth. About there. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon, maybe a little more. That's good. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon worth. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Maybe even a 1/2 teaspoon because she did make them a little more saltier than usual. And I'm using sea salt, that should do it. And 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And we're using pepper from a pepper mill because we don't have regular pepper, but this is just as good. And this will be more robust in flavor. Okay, excellent. Now, shake this up really good, and now you have flour all over the floor. I wonder if my mom ever did that. Probably. But now, there you go. There's your flour, and we're going to put the rest of this flour aside in case we need some more. We can always add more flour. But 1 cup is all you really need. That's your mixed flour. Now what we're going to do over here is we're going to have this saucepan available for our mashed potatoes. We're using instant mashed potatoes, the loaded mashed potatoes kind. And all you need to really remember how to make this is just follow the directions on the box. All you really need is boiled water and this stuff. We're using both pouches. So let's set this aside for now and turn this on to a very light 4. We're going to slowly boil that up. Now we are going to take some vegetable oil and dump it right into your skillet there. You need a good generous portion of vegetable oil. Not too much, but not too little. You want it just right. And that's about the right amount for vegetable oil. Now, we're going to put this measuring cup aside. So now we have more counter space for the next task. Eggs. We need an egg in here. So we're going to take a bowl. And Mr. Fork, are you ready to beat an egg?
Yes, I am.
Well then, let's go get an egg.
Ouch.
Sorry. But let's just go for, let's just do 2 eggs just to be on the safe side because it's always best to have too much than not enough. 2 eggs for a big package of thighs. Come back over here and you're ready to beat some eggs. What do those eggs ever do to you, huh? What did they do to you, huh? Maybe they don't want to be beaten. Maybe they're angelic little eggs. Maybe they want to go to church every Sunday. Does they deserve to be beaten? Yeah, haven't you ever heard of the Crusades? Anyway, let me get all of those egg whites out of there. Shake, shake, shake your egg whites, shake into the bowl. Shake, shake, shake your egg whites, not the little shells. Go for the other egg. And let's hope that a shell does not land in the bowl again. There we go. Nice and easy. Now, we'll take these 2 eggs and beat the eggs. This is the way Mom taught me how to beat an egg. Use a fork and do like this, really rapidly, until your egg whites and your egg yolks make one solid color. And she would always do this with the bowl, and do this with the bowl. She kept it moving, like this, and like that, until you got one solid mass of egg right there. Yolk and egg white mixed together to make one bright yellow color. Now, we are going to take some ready, thawed out turkey thighs, which, yes, these have the little bonies in them.
Little bonies?
They're little bonies and they're little teeny tiny itty bitty bones. You can use the thighs, you can use drumsticks, you can use breasts, you can use anything, wings even if you want to. There we go. Shake off any of that excess egg because you don't want that in your flour, because it's going to make it clumpy. Now, cover, and with your dry hand, remove the covered chicken from your flour. And we try not to touch the chicken with it too much. Let's recover that. Okay, there we go. Now, okay, so turn that all the way up to high. What we want to do is get this heated up really, really, really good. And once it's got a nice hot feel to it, you can drop your first piece of chicken in there and go for the next one. Soak it in the egg and then turn it over a few times. Shake off the excess, drop it in the bowl, shake, and dip. Repeat, blah, blah, blah. Repeat the process until all of your chicken is gone. So we'll show you a little bit of magic here. When the time comes, one thing about making chicken though, magic doesn't happen instantly. As much as I wish it would, but it doesn't. So feel. You can always get a good feel of how hot your oil is by placing your hand over the center of the skillet and feeling the heat bouncing off your hand. If you feel it here, then you're not feeling the oil, you're feeling the heat coming up from the metal around the skillet. You have to actually put your hand in the center of the skillet and feel with the center of your hand how hot the oil is, and leave it maybe about an inch and maybe 2 inches above the skillet. Just like that. Just do a little wave, and you can feel the heat bouncing off of the palm of your hand if you wave it right across the surface there. And it's starting to get hot, so let's take this piece of chicken and start this again. Let's drop her right in there. And if you want to follow my recipe for this, then do the same thing here, but add a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion salt, and a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic salt. Make sure it's the salts, because that way it gives the chicken a little less bland taste. Because you got plenty of powder in your flour here, so use some of the salt to help break up the powder in your flour mixture. And that would be, and also a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme will really go a long way as well. But my mom never used those seasonings. I did. I guess even some of the cooks that follow the recipes of their parents and their forefathers would like to try to modify the recipes that have laid down before them. But since it's Mother's Day, I'm following Mom's recipe to the letter. This is the way she taught me how to make it, so this is the way I'm teaching you how to make it. So that in hopes that you can use your imagination on your favorite spices to add to your flour here. Now you notice that 1 cup may not be enough for all of this, so we might actually need to add more flour as we go. And when you add more flour, also add however many parts flour with however many parts seasoning, so that way it evens out. You don't want uneven tasting coating on your chicken. You want it to be the same flavor for every piece. Every piece is just as good as the next. Okay, right in there. Cover. And try not to knock any onto the floor. It's very difficult not to do. I have to actually flip it over and keep on going. There you go. And voila, it is covered. It is covered in your coating. Drop it right in there. Okay, be careful because that's going to get hotter and hotter. Now, there is no limit to the types of seasonings you can add here. You know what you like. Some people like basil, some people like oregano, some people like Old Bay. Mom started putting Old Bay in the chicken after she discovered that Old Bay existed, because I ended up moving to Baltimore back when Old Bay was only available in Baltimore. And I sent Mom a huge container of Old Bay. And one taste and she was hooked. She used it on everything. And I said, yep, there's a true Baltimorean. Or as we say in Baltimore, Baltimoreans. But, you know, even moms can modify their own recipe. But this one will bring back the memory of living back home with Mom. Okay, there we go. And I believe my sister also follows the same recipe as well when she makes fried chicken. Mom taught all of us kids well, but what she didn't teach was how to make stuffed crust pizza. I learned that from my brother. On to the last 2 pieces, and what we're going to do is just for safety's sake, because we're also going to use some of this flour to make our gravy. So all you really need is just to tap a little of it extra. That's enough. Just a little smidge. I don't think we even need any more seasoning, but if you want to, you can add some. So just a little more smidgen flour. Give it a good shake-a-roo. And, good God, I hope I don't have to reach for that pepper again. A little more paprika. Now, I love paprika, so I don't mind using a little extra, but we're following Mom's recipe as best as we can. Let's add some more salt. Not too much, just enough. There we go. And just a little dash of ground black pepper. Just to even out the excess of flour that we have against however many spices we have. Good. Alright, mix together and there you go, you're ready to go again. Look at that. Alright, 2 more pieces of chicken. That is quite a bit more flour, but we're not done with the flour yet. So once you're done covering and coating your chicken and it's in the frying skillet, save this to the side because we're going to need it. Oh yes, we are going to need it. Now drop it in there, give it a good shake, and as you can see, we're back to square one again. Yay! And it's coating up nicely. We're going to cover this chicken with a large lid. And don't even let any steam escape from it. If you can, if you want to, but I find that letting the steam collect will help cook the top of your chicken as well as whatever is resting inside your vegetable oil. So we got this saved to the side. This we don't need anymore. So let's go ahead and dump that rest of that down the sink and rinse off this fork because we could always use the fork again. Nice hot water there. Now save this meat fork aside too, because you're going to need them to flip your chicken when it comes time. Or if you have a pair of meat tongs, you can use them too. Now let's take a look at our boiling water over here for our potatoes. And we're going to turn this down to low. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and add our potatoes. Now the package calls for adding 2 tablespoons of butter. No matter what brand you get, it always asks for 2 tablespoons of butter. I say, why? Why bother? You know, it's going to make creamy potatoes, but you know what? Just add a little extra milk. That's all you gotta do. There we go. I used a little bit extra because, let me tell you, when you're cooking with something that asks for boiling water, add just a touch extra, maybe even a quarter cup extra of the liquid. And I'll tell you why. In the cooking process, when you boil water, you're going to evaporate just a little bit, but by adding that extra amount will even out your measurement to where it's supposed to be when the product is finished. So I just added 1 1/4 cup of milk and 2 2/3 cup of water, and just a little bit over that notch, so that way we have plenty of liquid to work with when we cook our potatoes. So basically, and here's an extra added bonus for healthier potatoes: don't even add the butter, because all you're really doing is making it creamier. You're already going to have great tasting potatoes. If you want it creamier, add just a little butter, but really, you don't really need it, because the potatoes will turn out just fine without the butter. In fact, you probably won't even notice it's in there whether you use it or not, but your arteries will thank you. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and get this started because we were already at boiling point. I get a spoon, mix it in until it's well dissolved. Okay, that's really good for creamy potatoes, and that's creamy enough. We did not add one single pat of butter. And that's the beauty part about these potatoes. They're going to be healthier for you, your arteries will thank you better, and your heart will also thank you. Besides, what good is a heart if it's all stopped up with all of that mucky muck that gets into your system? Well, let's just say a dead heart is not a happy heart, especially when your heart belongs to mother. So when you get to this point and all your chicken is done, turn down your fire to about 6. Turn it down to medium and then let it cook for about 15 minutes. Take a look and see how golden brown it is. If it's starting to get really, really beautiful brown, not really golden brown. If you want golden brown, then turn it over. But I'm looking for a darker brown. Not enough to burn, but dark enough to look like it's done on that side. And then we flip it. We only flip it once, and if you can do it that way, because if you flip it and flip it and flip it, chances are you're going to lose a lot of your coating. But you just flip it once when you know it's done on one side, and you'll see around the edges where how brown it is. And if it's really brown, nice and beautiful, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done, then it's time to flip it over and let it cook another 15 minutes. So we're looking at about 30 minutes total cooking time for our chicken. And instant potatoes, they're already done. So we're just keeping this on the low burner to heat them up. Now, if you've already done your potatoes before the chicken is done, keep a watch on these too. Make sure these don't get too dry, and if they do, just keep adding more milk to it and just stirring it, add a little bit more, stir it until your consistency of the potatoes remain the same throughout the whole entire cooking process. You want to watch, make sure that this isn't too hot to handle, this little nub right here. And if it's a little hot, then always refer to an oven mitt or a towel or even a washcloth. So take your oven mitt and just lift. Look at that. This is the color that I'm looking at right here. This nice, beautiful, brownish, golden, with just a nice little touch of brown here and there, all around. This is a lovely color. And let's check out underneath too, because we just flipped this not too long ago. So they might not be just ready yet, but they're getting there. And what you want to do is you want to watch this constantly to make sure these don't overburn. And these are almost exactly where we need them to be. Now, cook the other side of your chicken to match this. This color here is what we're looking for. Maybe even this color here, see? Like that, or like actually like this would be perfect. But if you get it like this, that's good too. This chicken, oh yeah, we're done. Turn it off and leave the lid off. And while that's sitting, grab yourself some paper towels. And what we're going to do is we're going to place it over a plate. And when we place it over a plate, that ensures the paper towel will soak up all of that unnecessary extra oils that are going into your system. And that will ensure that your chicken will be nice and dry. You'll still taste, a little grease here and there. That's okay though, because that's the way Mom used to make it. Let's go ahead and lift these guys out. And look at that, isn't that beautiful? All right, let's turn that over. Ooh, now that is good. That is perfect. That is exactly what we need. Here's all of our chicken. Look how beautiful of an array of color. You got the golden brown, you got the brown here, you got beautiful crispiness through and through. This is Mom's famous fried chicken. Now look over here. Here's all the oil. The reason why we let this cool first is mainly so that that don't get too hot to handle whenever we're ready to dump that out of there. And you will need to dump that. But look at all of those crunchy shakens you got. That's going to go into your gravy. And leave some oil too. Now, what you want to do with this, is you want to take the rest of your flour here with the seasonings. Just add it right to the bottom of the pan there, right there. Now, what you want to do is now, we're going to go after, get a different spoon than the one you use to make the potatoes, and get one then with holes in it too. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stir until all that flour is absorbed by your grease, until you get a nice crumbly substance right down here like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make gravy out of all of this, and it's very simple to do. Now, that you got all one solid color, and depending on how much oil you've reserved, you might actually need more flour in there, but this is going to make a lot of gravy. So don't underestimate, because that wasn't that much flour we added to that, and that wasn't that much grease. But this will make a lot of gravy, because look at that. Look how moist that is. It's not dry at all. This has to be on high while you bake the gravy, because when you make gravy, just dump a good portion of it down there. That's enough. Enough to cover the bottom of the skillet there. And then with the back of the spoon, crush down all of that flour that we caked in there. Push all of this into the water there, because you know that's not going to be even. So just push that right up there. And look, lo and behold, this is the base for your gravy. Look at that. Doesn't that look like gravy? There you go. This is magic. This is instant kitchen magic that you're looking at, folks. I'm not waving my hand. I'm not waving a magic wand. I'm not saying abracadabra. This is as it happens. Now, there you go. Look at that. Now this will form a paste. This is what you want to do. This will form a paste, and this will be your gravy paste. Add more water now. And this time, add more than you did before. Probably twice the amount that you added before. And then start breaking all of that down with the back of the spoon. And if you think it'll help too, use a whisk, but the back of the spoon helps crush everything down. The whisk might be too metallic to go onto your non-stick skillet, so for best results, use back of a spoon. Preferably a plastic, a coated, or a wooden spoon. You don't want to use a metal whisk. If you have a bamboo whisk, you might want to use one of those, but not everybody has those, so that's okay. Just keep going around, push that water around to, if it seems too watery in some areas and too clumpy in another, just push where it's clumpy into the water, and the water will just absorb right in there. Now you notice your gravy will start to bubble as you make it. Okay? That's okay. If that happens, just turn it down to 6. But this does need to be hot as you make it, because if it's too cold, you won't reach the same consistency as it is if it's warm, because cold gravy will thicken up. Warm gravy will become a liquid. So you really need this hot. Okay, now all that water, you see that water has now been made into this nice gooey sort of substance. We're not there yet. Add more water. Little at a time. This is not a race and this is not a rush. Although you really want to finish as soon as possible, because this is really good. It's smelling good. It's looking good. And you want some of this stuff, because let me tell you something. Having to stand here long enough to make this gravy, and having to look at the beautiful color that I see here, and looking at all of this flavor here, and just taking it all into your nostrils and just giving it a good whiff, you want to indulge in some of this, but you know you can't do it right away until the gravy is done. Now, the reason why you do this a little at a time is because you want to gauge the consistency, the thickness of your gravy. If it's too thick, add more water. If it's too thin, add more flour. And this is what we call groovy gravy. So everybody say it with me now. This is groovy, man. Groovy. Now say it with me out there. Groovy, man. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you broke out the Janis Joplin records while you did this, because that's groovy. Because we added just a wee bit too much water. And this flour is going to clump right up. So same procedure as before. Use the back of the spoon and just flatten it as you stir. And this is how you can get lumpy gravy. So, you know, lumpy gravy might sound like really cool if you're into Frank Zappa, because he did an album called Lumpy Gravy, but in all actuality, lumpy gravy, the only lumps I want in there are those little chicken crunchies. I don't want lumps of flour in my gravy, so try to do your best. Yes, you will want to taste this just to see how much salt and pepper to add. Now we know we need a lot of more salt in there to prevent this from tasting too bland, because after all, this is just grease and flour. So flour is going to taste really, really bland. So what you want to do is add a lot of salt. Add about a half a tablespoon of salt and really get that salt in there. The salt may also help break up some of those chunks, but you can only be so lucky. What we're looking for, mainly, to give it a less bland of a flavor. And more pepper. We're going to add more pepper to that. We're going to give this a nice kick by adding peppercorns, crushed, ground peppercorns right from a pepper mill. And add a lot of this. We're going to add about 1/4 of a tablespoon. Really flavor this up. A lot of pepper. A lot of pepper. Okay, that should be good. 1/4 of a tablespoon of pepper and 1/2 tablespoon of salt. A lot of salt that goes in here, but you need it to, trust me. And then, that is all Mom ever added to her gravy. It was water, the crumblings, flour, pepper, and salt. Added that paprika. And you can't go wrong with paprika because I love paprika. And this will add a little bit more color as well. It'll add a little reddish color to your gravy. Stir all of that in there so it's nice and well mixed. And you'll notice that your gravy will now turn from this brownish color into sort of like with a little red tint to it. That's from the paprika. This requires a lot of stirring, folks. So if you want to make groovy gravy like this at home, be prepared for a lot of stirring. But it's going to be so delicious. You'll want to put this on your potatoes and maybe even on your chicken too. Ground cumin. This is my own touch to it. I know I said I was going to do this like Mom did, but we're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin. Cumin is a very strong flavor. It's a very strong flavor, so you don't need that much. Just 1/4 teaspoon cumin. Just enough to flavor it a bit. Wonderful! Cumin makes the gravy. So don't be afraid to add that cumin, but only add just a little touch because it doesn't need much. And for an extra bonus, I'm going to add a little touch of garlic salt. Remember, in gravies, use salts. We did exactly what Mom would feel would make us proud and make her proud of us from preparing it exactly the way she prepared it. And I have made my mother proud several times with my own cooking, and I've managed to impress a lot of people, including Mom. So, follow this recipe, especially from what we've done tonight. Prepare it for your parents on Mother's Day. Your mom will love it. And then she's gonna take a bite out of this and go, where did you ever learn this recipe? And then you can tell Mom that I learned it from SonicBlu's mother, because she knows how to cook chicken. So, from one mother to another, let's see how well your mother would like some of this too. Wolf Dog, are you ready to experience Mom's famous fried chicken?
Me too, I think. To start off first, I think.
Oh yeah, so be careful, that gravy is hot.
Mm-hmm.
And your reaction?
That is very good gravy.
Yes, my mother never really used cumin or onion salt in her gravy. She just used salt and pepper and paprika, but I use the cumin because I love the flavor of cumin. It brings out the taste in gravy.
Yeah, it tastes really good, that's for sure.
Oh yes. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the chicken.
Now the chicken part is going to be interesting.
Oh boy. This is Mom's recipe, which I've modified my own recipe, and you already know my recipe. Let's see how Mom compares to SonicBlu's chicken. And what do you think of the skin part, which is where all the flavor of the coating comes in?
Actually, it's really good.
And that is the way my mom did it. Now, let me ask you this big honest question here. Whose is better, Mine or Mom's? Tough decision, isn't it?
I'll just go with both.
Both. I can live with that. Oh yeah, you can definitely tell the cumin is in there. Okay, I hope that I'm forgiven for changing the recipe on the gravy just slightly. I love Mom's gravy, but I love it even more with cumin and peppercorn. Now for some of Mom's chicken. Yep, that's Mom's chicken, all right. So, this Mother's Day, spend time with Mom, and don't be afraid to try this recipe out on her. And when she asks you, where did you learn this beautiful chicken recipe from? Then you can tell her, from a mother who cares. So try it out at home and see what everybody else thinks of it. And don't be afraid to leave a comment in YouTube. Down there where you leave the comments, and I can show you where it's just right down there. You know, you just click on leave a comment there, and you just type a little comment in there. Let me know how well it came out in your kitchen, and hopefully you don't overcook your chicken, because it's very easy to do so. What you want is a beautiful golden color like this, nice and golden brown, beautiful. So for Mother's Day, this is SonicBlu Darkfold, missing his mom from a long, long way off, and hopefully your parents will enjoy this meal this Mother's Day. Híjole de no puedo creer, dice este mucho. Este teléfono silencio.
It's time to go silent on the cell phone.
So we don't have black pepper. We'll use the pepper mill. Okay. Always remember, if you have a bunch of spices, be sure that none of them glass come down on top of you. I'm going to put the pepper away, so we no longer need the pepper. Now let's hope that everything doesn't come toppling down again. Get in there, get in there, get in there. Okay, the paprika is going to fall, so let me take this down. Okay, the pepper is not going back in. So that means I'll have to put the cooking oil in the back, and the pepper goes here. That will work. Okay, paprika goes back up here, and the salt's up here, and that means Italian seasoning left. Okay, eggs. Where are all of my eggy weggies? Come here, eggy weggies. Come on. Come on. Ooh. Turkey Polska kielbasa. That's a future recipe. Yolk and egg white would be help if I could talk. Carefully lift your chicken out of the bowl, and we're gonna should turn this on first. Sorry, Mom. Okay, we'll turn that to high, so that way we can get that cooking.
Yeah, I was gonna say you might want to turn that on.
I forgot to turn on the oil. What is Mother gonna say?
How many times do I have to tell you? You have to turn the water on!
Is that my mother or is that Mockingbird's mother?
Actually, that sounds like Mockingbird's mother.
It sounded like Mockingbird's mother, didn't it?
How many times do I have to tell you?
Now, wait a minute, maybe that's Tooth Ranting Griffin's mother.
No.
That would be scary.
I don't know. I don't know
I
what
never met her.
Two's mother sounded like, so I really couldn't say.
And if Mrs. Davis is watching this, I'm sorry. Wherever she may be, I don't even know Two's mom. But anyway, huh?
Does anybody know her?
Two knows her.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah. Who am I? Bill Nye, the chicken thigh. No? Oh. So, we are going to let this cook for a while. And while we're doing that, Sajin is going to do a striptease. See, the whole purpose of that is to knock all the oil out of there, so...
I'm not even gonna bother.
Okay. Well, that chicken is nice and dry now.
I wonder as many times as you did that. I'm not surprised.